we're back. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Wherever you are, this is Attorney Daniel Huang from Blue Corner Law. Just to recap really quick, okay? This is episode 2 of case review of Mr. X. Mr. X. Okay, so now quick summary. Mr. X was released from ICE custody after getting arrested on his way to work. He was a collateral arrest. Now, I mentioned about this word collateral in our episode 1. So if you missed the episode 1, my recommendation is if you watch my episode 1, you have a better idea what I'm talking about right now. Okay, so let's continue. He was released because, okay, usually this doesn't happen, but he was released because number one, he was not a threat to the community, no criminal record. And number two, he was not a flight risk because he was married to American citizen spouse and he had 3 American-born children. So, that's actually a big plus for him. All right, so he was released. Now, Mr. X appeared on his first master calendar hearing or status hearing back in 2018, and he was scheduled for a final hearing in mid-2020. Now, as I mentioned before, due to COVID-19 pandemic, his final hearing, the trial was canceled. Okay, so now he is currently waiting for a new hearing date or court date. All right, so just to give you what we did during the master calendar hearing, Mr. X submitted his I-589 asylum application, and he also was eligible for a cancellation of removal application as a non-permanent resident, just because he was here more than 10 years, all right, and he had qualifying relatives, which was his wife and his 3 kids, all American citizens. And prior to, this is important, prior to receiving a notice to appear, okay, he had his 10 years. So that was a, qualifying reason for him to apply. All right. Now, one thing that I did not emphasize during our episode 1 was that during our first master calendar hearing, Mr. X did inform the judge, the immigration judge, that his wife was filing an I-130, a petition for an alien relative for Mr. X. All right, and the reason that we had to inform the judge about filing the petition, again I-130, is because even though he came in without an inspection and he cannot adjust his status, it's always good to let the judge know what we're thinking as an option. All right, let's say that asylum didn't work out and the cancellation is not enough to get it approved. At least we have an option for him to go out and come back in if the 130 is approved with a waiver, okay, which is I-601A waiver. Again, I am not going to talk about I-130, I-601 waiver, and asylum application and cancellation itself because that's gonna be for another time. But I'm just gonna tell you what we did. All right. Now, again, it's very important to communicate with the judge, communicate with the DHS prosecutor, what we're thinking. Okay, we're not giving our game plan. That's not what I mean by talking to the judge or the prosecutor. Okay, what I mean is it's always beneficial, okay, to talk about the case to see what they're thinking, what the judge is thinking about. Because different judges have different leaning, different opinion, different, I guess, preference, how they will deal with the case, and also the DHS prosecutors as well. And also, the reason that I love putting everything on the record is because oftentimes the judges, they change. Okay, you appear for the first master calendar hearing and you see one judge, and then after a couple of years, when you appear for their final hearing, we have a different judge because judge retires, he quits, gets fired sometimes. And you have a different judge. And usually what happens is the judges, they look at the record and they're looking at what went on. They will listen to the audio and they will listen to what we discussed. All right. So it's always good to put everything in the record. Furthermore, even DHS prosecutor, okay, I guarantee it, it's not going to be the same person who went to represent on their first master calendar hearing. They rotate, so you don't even know who's going to be there for the final trial. So it's always good to put everything in the record so that even for them, they will listen, they will look at the case, and they will see what went on, what we agreed on, what we not agreed on with the prosecutor. So that's something that I definitely recommend, okay, to do. All right, let's continue. All right, so, and finally, the reason that I put everything in the record is because if we have to do an appeal for a trial, then you want everything in there, the issues, all right, what we talked about, so that you could raise an objection, okay, for the Board of Immigration Appeals. All right. As I mentioned before, COVID-19 happened. All right. So now Mr. X is waiting for his final hearing. Not the end of this year, may not be, okay, or it might not even happen until maybe 2-3 years from now. All right. So most of you will ask me, then what's going to happen? Question is this a good thing or a bad thing? Okay, what is the positive or negative impact as a result of this big delay? It is a delay, so let's talk about it. Let's talk about positive and let's talk about negative. Now, I'm just gonna talk about the practical sense. Okay, practically, why is it good? Why is it bad? Okay, let's talk about practical aspects of it. Okay, I'm not gonna talk about is it really good, to be delayed or taking your time in court for asylum or cancellation, all right? That's not what I mean. What I mean is why is this positive practically for you as a client, for Mr. X? Why is this so negative, if there is any negative impact on this, all right, being delayed? Because I know a lot of people right now with the pending immigration court, it's been canceled. The whole last year was canceled. All right, so it's been delayed big time. All right, and the cases are piling up, and even right now, they are rescheduling all the master calendar hearing. Even the beginning of this year, it's been rescheduled. So first, let's talk about positive impact. Okay, Mr. X, obviously, because he has a pending I-589 asylum application. He was eligible for work authorization after 150 days of filing the asylum application, right? So he was able to renew his work permit every 2 years. Okay, now, so because of this delay or reschedule or cancellation, again, he's able to renew his work permit. All right. Not only that, because of it, he is employed. He's able to continue his employment. Able to renew his driver's license because of the renewal of work permit, right? So that's a good thing. That's a good impact, right? And also because he was able to get his work authorization card, he was able to apply for his Social Security card. So as a result, he's now filing a joint tax return with his wife and be able to claim his 3 United States citizen kids as his dependents, right? So that's good. So overall, all right, because of this delay, he was able to build my favorite word, legal equity. Okay, what does that mean? What I say legal equity, meaning, he's able to establish himself, right? Build a strong family ties and also the community ties in the U.S. And this will help him in the long run, because at the time when he has a final hearing, he'll be able to, tell the judge, his background, his and testimony is going to help him. All right. Furthermore, this unforeseeable delay due to COVID-19 may have given a possible new immigration relief, because now there is a new bill or proposal at the U.S. Congress. So for Mr. X, if he had a trial back in 2020, then then they would not he would not have this opportunity to wait for a new immigration law. Okay, so again, timing is everything, and for Mr. X, it turns out that this is gonna be good for him, right? Okay. All right, so let's go on, and now you ask, talk about positive things. Is there negative things? Is there negative impacts? Well, negative impacts. Okay, let's talk about negative impacts. Okay, obviously there is a delay. Delay of a trial can be negative, especially if you have a really, really good case with your asylum application or even cancellation, right? It all depends on the cases. So if you have a really, really good case where you could actually be able to get asylum, right, because you've been here within 1 year of the entry, or the cancellation where you could overcome the extreme and unusual hardship standard, yes, delay will most likely will not help you, right? Maybe you have a witness that were available back in 2020 who may not be available now. You never know. So those are the things that you'll be missing. Okay. And of course, personal negative impact, you cannot really deny that either. All right, for Mr. X, he more delay of trial means more time without a legal status. Okay, and there's gonna be another uncertainty and stress by Mr. X and his family, because it's really hard to forecast what's gonna happen to you. As you know, 2021, it looks like there is some movement with immigration reform, but not really yet. All right, so the immigration policy could always change. It could be favorable today, but it might not be favorable tomorrow. It all depending on who's in charge, right? So there's a lot of nervous people out there because they don't know what's going to happen, right? So, yep. So I'm just going to talk about that today with the USCIS interviews or petitions. We'll talk about it. All right. All right. Thanks. Okay. Bye.